Hey guys, it's Bruce from Volume Leaders, and I'm very excited to introduce Moby. He creates tutorial videos for Bookmap and has been generous enough to agree to make some videos for Volume Leaders too. So you can find his work in YouTube by searching for Moby Bookmap. And so please enjoy this video and be sure to take a look at his other content when you're done.
Welcome. Bruce has asked if I could occasionally do a video for him on volume leaders, basically a recap of things that have been happening that can be seen on the volume leaders site. You may have come across one or more of my webinars where I've been doing webinars recently for Bookmap, and it is very, very much the same concept that I talk about, which is supply and demand, auction theory, um, big guys, institutional players, buying low, selling high, buying low. Um, yeah, so if you look at the volume leaders example diagram on the main page where we've got the Russell 2000 and you've got the institutions buying 3 million shares at the low and then selling at the high, that is very, very similar to what I talk about intraday on Bookmap. Basically, what I've been doing is talking about Wyckoff-ian logic of supply and demand. So you have the big guys accumulating down here at the lows and then selling up at the highs. And if I draw that in volume profile terms, that results in a profile which is pretty much a normal distribution just like that. So, if we are going to talk about smaller profiles, it's like that, then skinnier profiles up, and then another great big fat profile at the top. But it's really just the same thing. It's how can those big guys make money without being too obvious about how they get in and how they get out. Okay, we've done the intro, so now let us move on to, how can we actually use volume leaders and what real benefit can it be to us as traders, whether we're intraday traders or swing traders. So the first example, they're all recent examples, they're all last week that I want to talk about is IAU. So Bruce here, and I've got a web page of his tweets this week. Um, I hope the text is legible, but I'll find out when I check the recording of this. This is not scripted word for word, so I like to be a little bit more creative when I'm recording videos, so let's just go with it. So this was the largest trade since inception, tweeted on September 26th. The time zone for my browser is Australian time, so it may have been the 25th, but let us not worry about that. Let us then look across at the volume leaders chart for IAU. And you can see over the month of September, there were some very, very large trades. And you think, if they have such large positions being accumulated, and we can just tot them up, we can look over here and work out the dollar value, where are they likely to go? Are they likely to go up or down? And then that's when I start to make use of my free tools like TradingView. And here I've got the daily. Maybe we'll switch across to the weekly. So we've got we've got the weekly gold and IAU. So you can see that after May, it has been breaking down. So if this was a supply zone here on gold and IAU, we tested that supply zone and we came back down. So this could potentially have been a distribution zone. And if they are coming down, what's the most likely place that they're going to go? And you can see a lot of volume traded here in IAU down at the 3409 level, and the same for gold down below $1,800. So that is how I then look at what is happening. So if I've seen a rejection, I can see that they could tag that, and that we're now below these huge trades. That's the likely scenario. How would you implement this if you were? I mean, we don't provide financial advice, but basically you're trying to get on board a distribution zone, get on top of their coattails or on the back of their coattails and ride it down to the next most likely level. Okay, let's move on to our next example, which is uranium. And we're going to talk about two symbols, URA and URNJ, that Bruce tweeted about over the course of a week on the 21st and 26th of September. Neither of them are very familiar to me, which is again the beauty of this product volume leaders, that you're going to come across symbols where they might be moving money from high to low or low to high that you're not that familiar with. Provided there is liquidity in that symbol, that does give you a potential opportunity to ride coattails. So Leah, let's have a look firstly at URA, which is the largest ever trade and that was tweeted on. It was tweeted on previously in the middle of September. That's the number one trade there, rank 1. And since they held that looks likely to have been further accumulation. You've got initial accumulation here, further accumulation there, and driving it up with quite a large sell potentially at the top. When I say sell, who knows? I cannot predict the future, so it does not mean it's a sell. It's just the fact that you have such a large trade at the high, and it's unlikely, since they've been getting in at the lows or reaccumulating again at a pause, that they would then be buying at the highs. It may defy a little bit of logic. And the second tweet was about URNJ, and they had their number one trade. So we've moved across here, the number one trade at a relative high, and Bruce was going on about it's way out of its skis. So if we look across at the TradingView charts, these are the daily charts for URA and URNJ, you can see this has been a significant ramp up since July. It's just absolutely gone ballistic. So that if there happened to be a sell around about here in URNJ, it would not be a surprise unless they're going they're taking this one to the moon. So if there was some kind of pullback, and we can benefit from those pullbacks, going short just as much as we can go long. That could be another one. Again, this is another good example of how it doesn't have to be explicitly clear, and we have to remember that the only thing that we control is our risk size. So provided we do control that risk, there is a potential for multiple R on this trade should there be a decent dip in the uranium sector. Again, no financial advice provided, cannot predict the future, never have been able to, it's just an idea. Okay, on to the final example for this video, and this one is more in my ballpark because I'm more of an intraday trader, so I'm looking at getting in and out on the same day, maybe multiple times, depending on the setups involved and what I'm also reading from all the other correlated instruments. But this is a tweet on Friday, the Friday that's just been, and let's look across. I mean, we don't necessarily have to read the tweets in detail. This one is actually a really long one. If you go into Bruce's tweet, he sets out all his thinking, and we've got to be grateful that he does that because it helps us learn about his thinking on this product. Remember, nobody is necessarily right or wrong. It's just an opinion and some form of analysis, but we can learn from the way that other people think. So if we come across and we look where I've got two symbols up here, I've got the Qs and the TQs. They have a habit of moving money in both of those, as well as other instruments related to the tech stocks. So let's have a look. This is an intraday chart. So this is over the course of Friday. And you can see what happened here. So you've got large trades at the top, and then there's some buying at the bottom. This is a very good example of when the volume leaders product can help you. I mean, there are going to be days where it does not provide anywhere near this level of clarity because there is no clarity on what they're doing, because it could just be one of those choppy days where not a lot happens. But here is a very good example of them selling at the high and buying at the low. And if we move across to TQQ, it's the same kind of concept. So very similar large trades, and it gives us confluence with what was done in the queues. So the times 10:13 and 10:26, and over here we have these trades. Let me just get that one across. 9:30 and 10:57. So roughly in the same kind of sphere towards the high of the day as they moved it down. And that's just an example that that is useful to me. I mean, I've used block trades on other services. I won't name them, but I have. But the one feature that was really lacking was this kind of scanner. So you can scan across, what is going on. I mean, like if we go back to the main page now, we go to the trades tab, and we look live. We're talking about Monday morning Asian time, and we're not talking about live on Friday. So this is pre-market Asia. So I mean, how do I actually use the scanner page? And this is the last thing I'll do in this video. So the first thing I tend to do is I go straight to the percentage. So I look for, what is at the top ranking in terms of percentage size of the trade. And I just get a feel for the sectors. And just quickly look across. I mean, since we've been talking about Qs, the fact that you've got the Qs there and the SQQs, which are the inverse of them, and you've got the apples and the metas. So that's interesting to me. And because of that, then I'll go across to the dollars, and I'll have a look in terms of the dollar size. I'm expecting the Qs to be up here again. You've got the apples and the Microsoft. So yeah, all of these top 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, just on this occasion, they're all the big tech. So they are moving money in things related to the queues. And then finally, I will look at the rankings to see what we have in terms of the number ones, just to see if there's any correlation there. We've got the uraniums that we've just been talking about, but yeah, the Qs aren't in there. Obviously, there's no great surprise that the dollar values are all the big tech stocks because they are the biggest companies at the moment, generally speaking. But that's how I look at them, just to see what was in play. And from that scan, we could see that the stocks related to the Qs were in play, so they're moving money up and down in those Qs. I find benefit in looking at that. Even if some of my best trades in NQ might only last a minute or two, just to know generally, that they might be in play and that what they might be doing, whether they're going high or going lower, is of real value to me. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Cheers.